Welcome back everyone. So in this section we will be talking about the zones and policies. Now in a Palo Alto, whenever we have an interface, that interface is being assigned by a name, zone name. So without you assign any zone, the interface will not come up and you are not able to forward any traffic on that one. So we have to assign the zones. Now zones are just like a name, like inside, outside, trust zone, untrust zone, DMZs. So you can have any name, it's just a name. So it's just like a name if that's all. So zones, there are different types of zone, like how we have a different types of interfaces. Like if you have a layer 2 interface, you do have a layer 2 zones for them. If you have a layer 3 interface, you have layer 3 zones for them. Or if you have a virtual wires, then you have a virtual wire interface for them. Or if your interface is of tap mode, then you will have a zone for the tap mode also. Right, for every interface, you have to make sure that you assign a zone. That zones will be utilized by the policy because, for example, this one is the inside zone and this one is the outside zone. So when you have these zones, then you can utilize in a policy saying that the source will be inside, destination will be outside, and you want to allow some kind of applications or you want to allow some kind of services like HTTP, HTTPS, and you want to allow or block the traffic. So you have a more control, granular control over that one. When you have the zones, then you can create a policy saying that you want to, the source will be inside out, the destination will be outside, what type of application and service, and you want to allow or block the traffic. So you can create a policy, you can control the traffic, how the traffic should be passed. Now, this is like an, doesn't matter whether this one is the layer 3 zone or layer 2 zone or the virtual wire zone, irrespective of that one, the policy will only look from which zone the traffic is coming in. So it's only interested in the zone. In zone is associated to the particular interface. And in this case, the interface can be a sub interface also. It can be VLAN interface. So it can be any interface. So this one is like a layer 3 interface. This one is sub interface. This one is interface VLAN interface. Then you have a layer 2 interface. So all the modes of the interface have been assigned to a zones, different zones. So when you have, for example, you have one more zone that is DMZ. So now you do not have the policies. So by default, one zone cannot communicate with another zone. So inter-zone communication is blocked. But if you have the same zone, like I do have a DMZ, I have another interface of same DMZ, then these two zones can communicate with each other, but inter-zone traffic is by default blocked. So by default, intra-zone is allowed, inter-zone is blocked. So that's why you create a policy saying that you want to allow the traffic between two different zones. So zones and policies work hand in hand. Without the zones, then you are not able to create the policies. So I will show you that one now. So let's go to the interface first, and interface on the left hand side you should see zones. So if I create this, click on the zones, on the bottom you see add, and you can give a name like for L3, maybe I would give inside zone. And now you select the type. So you do have a type virtual via layer 2, layer 3. So I will say layer 3. Then if you already have any interface, then so currently I have not enabled any interface, so that's why I'm not seeing any interface. So that's all fine because I'm just creating a zone. That's it. Now on this particular zone, so zone is associated with the interface means then you have the ability to do the user identification, device identification, exclude any list or IP address you want to exclude some of the host or network from the host where you don't want to analyze the traffic or so and so on that particular zone. So you have more capabilities like a granular control what you want to do with that one. Now once you create the zone, you do have another thing as a zone protection. So it's again up to you. If these it's not compulsory to create zone protection, but If you go and click on zone protection profile, so you see that it has a flood protection, resonance protection, packet. So basically this zone protection profile will be valid if you apply it to the interface which is facing to the internet, because you can avoid the sync packet attacks, DDoS attacks, and the resonance protection like scanning attacks. So since this is a lab, I will not create any of them. Enable packet buffer protection. So just like a buffering of the packet. So click on OK. So now I've created inside. So I will create one more that will be outside. And I will also say this one also a layer 3. Okay. Now, in the same way, I can create the layer 2, layer 3, virtual, tap, and tunnel. So it's up to you. So currently I have created two zones, that is inside and outside. Now, if I go to my policies now, so on the security policies, you see that by default intra-zone is allowed, same zone, and inter-zone is blocked. So if I click on add, and I can give any name. So source, now I can say define the traffic, the flow of traffic. So for example, what I can say is that my topology is such that Palo Alto is in between. This one is the inside and this one is the outside, which is facing to the internet. Now this is my corporate network, so the direction should be always any interface, any traffic coming on the inside interface that should be allowed to go to the internet. So source will be inside, destination will be outside, and if I want to block like a limit to a particular application, I can do it. So I will select the source as inside, destination as outside. Application is any, so if you want to add any application, you click on add and you do have a list of applications over here. So you select the list of application. Since I want to allow any, so I will select any. Service URL, you by default there is a default application which consists of HTTP and HTTPS. So you select any if you like. And actions, in the action you see that action you want to allow or block the traffic. So allow, deny, drop, reset client, reset server, reset both client and server. So it depends upon the what type of action you take. So mostly you use the allow and deny. Drop is also the same thing. You just drop the packet, but it will not send you the acknowledgement. So I'm allowing the traffic. So currently there is no profile setting. So we will discuss this profile settings later on. And log sessions, I'm logging at the end of the session. That's fine. Quality of service, I'm not allowing, not assigning any quality of service. So I'll go back to general and I will say that this one will be the test policy and I will click on OK. So now I should have one policy that is test policy, which is the universal type. So this one will be zone will be inside, which is source, address, any user, any device. Destination will be outside, any address, any device. Application will be any, service will be any, but the traffic is allowed. Now the only thing is that the direction is from inside to outside, so the traffic can go only from inside to outside. The traffic cannot come from outside to inside, so we did not allow bidirectional. So once the traffic has been session has been initiated from inside to outside, the session will stay until that is been terminated. But once the session is terminated from the outside, the session cannot be initiated to the internal network. Right, so the zones and the policies goes hand to hand. So I hope this was informative for you and thank you.